So, welcome, Jamie.
Hello.
How are you? It's very good to see your smiling face again.
I'm doing well. Just dealing with the winter weather in Michigan.
Oh, now listen, I was only there 2 weeks ago and it was beautiful and sunny. In fact, I was walking around with a t shirt on and really happy. And now you've just been telling me the snow is bucketing down over there.
Yes, it is. It's only just started. We're right at the beginning of the season, so we've got a long road ahead.
A long snowy road.
Yep.
We're going to talk about this, but I was there in 2019 and I went into Detroit, I don't know, we looked around and walked around and I only had soft, cloth runners on and my feet were drenched and I didn't have a proper raincoat and my eye was drenched and I was hanging out with another guy from Australia who had the flu and I ended up so bloody sick. But this time I went into Detroit with me, my big jacket and everything else, and it was I ended up carrying this damn jacket around. But it's boy, I love Detroit and I love Michigan, absolutely love it.
Yeah, Michigan is great, especially you were here in the fall, so you got to see all the colors, all the
Oh
trees and everything. Oh,
yeah.
the leaves unfortunately are gone now.
Oh, that's a
So
good.
you got here just in time.
Well, hopefully I'll be back again next year. But anyway, I am so glad that we're doing this because, like I said, I was there in 2019 and did a workshop, and we'll expand on that. Or spoke at the conference and did a workshop. We'll expand on that soon. But I came back, last week, which was 3 years later, and it was just prior to me coming back. You sent me a message in Instagram saying, "Hey, the workshop you did. We talked about animal rescue. I finally got it off the ground and all that sort of stuff." So, and I was so bloody thrilled to come back over this year and see what you've done in person. And how I wish I could have got to your coffee shop, but 3 hours trip. I don't know. We would have fitted that in, but it's.
Yeah.
But let's
Oh,
start
here
back.
it is.
Yeah, I know. I can see it's fantastic. Let's go back to the start and just tell us why did you start Coffee Rescue? Where did it all come from? Before this is way prior to my thing. This is in 2012.
Yeah, 2012, September 2012, right around my birthday, actually. Actually, the original concept of Coffee Rescue was my brother's idea.
Yeah.
He's always been kind of a big ideas kind of guy. And he always thought about doing a coffee delivery service because he used to live in Washington, D.C., and they had one there at his place of work. And so it's just kind of in the back of his mind. And in September of 2012, Kalamazoo started their food truck program. They weren't allowed before. And so we became, because of his idea to do this coffee delivery service, we became the second food truck in Kalamazoo. And so he came up with this idea of the ambulance. He found the ambulance, he got it labeled and wrapped and everything. I This was before he even pitched the idea to me. The idea came to him because we had a family member that was in need of financial help. They had kind of their whole finances were decimated, and so the idea was to start this business for me to run it. And I was between jobs at the time. I was used to be a caseworker, and so this was right after that job. And so I ran it for 2 years. At first, I thought he was crazy because it's an ambulance. It's an ambulance converted into a food truck that serves coffee. So it sounded crazy at first, but he he since it was for a good cause, and I've always had that kind of feeling to help people. I went ahead and did it, and after about 2 years, we got that person back on their feet, and he was going to sell the business, and so I bought it in 2014. And then I changed it from a delivery service where we went from business to business. I changed the concept to catering and events.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that was at for the next 8 years. And then we got a coffee shop.
Oh, so the coffee shop is pretty new.
The coffee shop is new. It's barely just turned one. So it's been
Fantastic.
almost about, yeah, pretty much very close to 12 months now.
Yeah, and you got a drive-through attached to that as well. So
Yeah, yep. Drive through. It's in Portage, Michigan, and it's on a really busy street that's in between, like where they made the Pfizer COVID vaccine is
yeah,
literally next door. It's like 5 minutes away.
yeah,
So we got a lot of big factories and stuff, and there's also a lot of small businesses right around here that are new in this
yeah.
area that are all kind of popping up, and we're all supportive of each other. So it's a good spot, good neighborhood.
That's fantastic, isn't it? I think a lot about that. If all the little small businesses all support each other, you know, it keeps them afloat, but it also keeps them to a point where it's inviting for other people to come in because there's a little thriving little hub, you know, that's going on. Oh, I absolutely love that. When you know, when your brother started it and he got the ambulance and with the rescue, was he like, was that part of his concept? Did he really think, well, let's make it like a, because you've got this tagline that is coffee rescue for all your caffeine emergencies. Did he come
Yeah.
up, like, is that tagline from him at the very start, you know, thinking about the ambulance? And
No, it's absolutely not. That's just something that I've been saying for a few years now because it's true. Um,
that's
no, it
great.
was, I think for him, it was just coincidental because he just happened to be looking for vehicles to make a food truck. And he found this vehicle at an auction, and I think it just, the pieces came together. So that was, if you knew him, you would know that he comes up with some really interesting ideas, and I just happened to go with him on this one.
I love it. I love the whole concept of it. And, you know, when I was there with you at this, you know, a couple of weeks ago, you've sort of really taken this concept and really expanded it because you had syringes, you know, that were full of espresso coffee. And I tell you what, I wasn't game to try one, but a friend of mine did, and I. You know, he's always got to outdo everyone. And he shot it straight into his mouth. And I watched his eyes just about bulge out of his head. And but you
Mhm.
know what? He's too damn proud, and he wouldn't admit that it nearly bloody punched his punched his eyeballs out. But I reckon that's fantastic. And then you also had punches, fruit punch in blood bags, and I
Yeah, I
reckon.
actually
Oh, you
have
got
one
one
right
there?
here. Yep.
So for anybody listening on the podcast, you should be watching the YouTube video because Jamie's holding up the blood bag, and it's just fantastic. I what sort of fruit punch is it like?
It's
Well,
like Hawaiian punch,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, this one
yum.
was, we did it for the kids really because I used to have a coffee shop at the local hockey stadium, Kalamazoo Wings Stadium, and I started out with making those with coffee in them. And the kids at the hockey game said, "Well, you get, you know, they're all for the parents. We want one." You know, so I made the fruit punch one, and ever since they really enjoyed that.
And I love
So
it.
we,
Are they real blood bags that you've managed to get and fill up? Or
no, it's a party favor, food grade. There's all kinds of like food grade products that you can get, like the espresso shots.
yeah,
It's a food grade syringe that you would use at a party or something like that. You can put anything in it.
yeah,
I
I've
just
seen
thought
them.
it would be great to have my espresso in it.
I reckon they're fantastic. I love both of them, and it just plays on that concept, that whole theme, and I just love it. And I tell you what, I don't know about you, but well, you probably are because you love your coffee. But I'm one of these people that when I wake up in the morning, that coffee that's the bloody thing that kicks you into gear every every freaking morning. But
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. Well,
oh
people used to tell me, my customers used to tell me that they needed an IV of coffee, like as a joke, they would say that. But people said it so often that I just finally made one, and they were like, couldn't believe it, but I did. So there you go.
I tell you what, that's something I love about you. We're going to get deeper into this, but you are one of those people that follow through. You know, like you you seem to have, or you seem to not have a lot of the filters or barriers that other people have. And I know you do. I know you have self-doubt, and I know all these things come up for you. But when somebody says something like that to you, you go, huh, oh, maybe that could work. And you think about it and you give it a try. And I know a lot of people who say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But then all the self doubt actually stops them doing it. But you're one of these people that actually goes ahead and does it. And I've got great admiration for you for doing that a lot.
Well, thank you. I think it comes from the idea that I feel like people have good ideas. Just they, the customer especially. If it's something that the customer comes up with that I would have never thought of on my own, then chances are it's probably somebody else would be interested in it too if they,
Yeah.
had, like I think today was somebody was asking me about the loyalty program at my coffee shop, and I have it set up a certain way. And he said, "Well, what if you thought about doing it this way instead? And then you might, you people would have to go to 10 stars, but they would get 1 star per drink. And would you think about doing it that way?" So when my customers come in and we have full conversations about what we could do to make the business better, and I do that almost every single day because
Wow.
I value their opinions greatly, and I kind of feel like they will guide me into the right type of direction. You have to have faith in people that
Yeah.
maybe they have some good ideas and some good suggestions that you might want to try.
What a great thought process and a great value system, because some people will start businesses and they're like, no, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to listen to what you want. So I think that's bloody fantastic. Now, you also have a love for animals, and I remember when talking about this with you, and I remember, let's go back to that 2019. So the Hero Roundtable conference in Michigan, and at the end of it, I think it was at the end of it, I did the Get Off the Bench workshop, and you came to that, and I distinctly remember you sitting there, and when you said, I want to do, my business is coffee rescue, and I'd actually already seen it because you'd already had the coffee out the front, and I want to work out how I can donate to animals, to dog rescue and that. And I was like so taken by that. But within the in the workshop, I shifted my focus. There was a couple of kids wanting to rescue animals as well, and there was also the lady that wanted to do photography for families with autism, and so we sort of shifted the whole focus over there. And you've frozen, by the way, so I'm going to keep talking, and I'm just hoping that you come back to me. So if anyone is watching this video, Jamie looks like she's just frozen. Don't worry, Jamie. Did you get most of that, or did you miss it?
I missed some of it. You froze for me too. So I think I missed the part that I stopped at was when you said there were some kids in the group.
Yeah, that's right. There were some kids in the group who were also wanting to do some great things, but we also focused on the lady who was wanting to do the photography for autism. But your idea sat with me. Your idea, I often wondered, oh, I wonder if she's doing that. I wonder if she's doing that. I wonder if she's doing, I wish I had spent more time that. And then you sent me that message, only a few months ago, to say, hey, guess what? I did it. And it makes my heart sing. It really, really does. So bloody glad. And I don't always get that feedback, and it matters to me. So take us back to that workshop and tell us, like, what you were thinking as you were going through that. And, like, what was it that made you go, oh, my God, I know what I can do? Like, what happened there?
Well, your workshop is very it gives you the opportunity to really like think of things that maybe you had in the back of your mind but you weren't ever going to do it, or you weren't sure if that was the right thing. But, you know, you feel comfortable in your workshop to just come up with anything. It could be anything at all, you know? And so at the time, it was kind of a light bulb moment. It wasn't really something that I had put together before. So when I went to the workshop was really when I kind of got the idea, because I knew that I always have been a person who's like, you know, wants to give back to their community, but I really didn't know it further than that, what I was going to do with it. And so it really did just kind of come to me in that moment, because I've always been an animal lover, and, you know, all kinds of animals. And I just thought, you know, I put two and two together, and because of the workshop being so like encouraging for whatever idea you're thinking of, I just kind of went with it. And as the workshop builds and you get more into it, I started to get really excited and just like, okay, wait a minute, this is something here that I think I should pay attention to, because I don't know, something about it just really clicked. And I left there thinking, I want to do something about this. This is not something that I just want to write down on a piece of paper and then throw away or put it in a folder. This is something that I actually want to do. And it seemed like it was pretty easily achievable, I guess you could say, but it turns out it was a 3-year long journey. But it felt like it was something I could do. And I had the tools to start to think about doing it.
I love that. I love that so much. I just don't want people doubting these workshops, because, you know, if you're prepared to do the work, you know, like magic can happen. And it's not magic because it's already in you. That's the whole thing. So you just talked about then that it was a 3-year journey. And I think that's a really important thing to get through to people, is that it's, you know, sometimes we can have an idea. And I always say, take one step, the next thing will open up in front of you. And sometimes it doesn't pan out exactly how you think it's going to pan out. And sometimes it takes a lot longer, but sometimes it falls into place in 2 weeks. Like, that does happen for some people. However, when you're involving other people in it, you know, it can take a lot longer. And so you ended up working with Joe Gatto, who is, you know, infamously known for being one of the impractical jokers. Not so big in Australia, but huge in America, a TV show over there. So did you, and Joe was at that, the 2000, well, Joe was at both of the conferences. He's a big supporter of the Hero Roundtable. So why did you go with Joe, or like he loves his dogs and he rescues dogs. But so do you think it took longer because you went with Joe, or like, where did that idea come from?
Not necessarily, because I really didn't know the path that I was going to take. I didn't know exactly. I knew I wanted to roast coffee and donate to charity, but I wasn't sure exactly where to go from there. So Joe was at the leadership conference, or at the Hero Roundtable conference. So, you know, and seeing him with his dog Spumoni and talking about how he rescues animals, and Gatto Pups, which is the name of all of his whole group of dogs, the Gatto Pups.
20 of them.
Yeah. He has his own his own sanctuary, I guess you could call it, his own place now for the dogs. So, so I think I felt like it was kind of coincidence that he happened to be there at the same time that I kind of came up with the idea. And so my immediate thought was, there's probably some way to try and make this and put this together. So maybe what I started out doing was just checking to see if maybe he could give me some suggestions of animal rescues that he works with. And that's what I talked to him about at the actual first conference in 2019. And he gave me names of different places that I could, different rescues that I could talk to about, you know, going forward with them. And so I took them down, and I was interested in getting a hold of those people. But then I also had to learn how to roast coffee because I didn't know how at that time.
Oh,
Which
because
it turns out,
you were using other people's coffee at that point.
yeah, it was our own blend that we helped to develop,
Yeah.
but I had never actually learned the craft of roasting it.
Oh,
All
wow.
I just actually, we have a person that's local that taught me during the pandemic when we were all shut down in the lockdown. Um,
Oh,
so
wow.
I told him I'm going to buy a roaster, a small one, a personal size one, and I want to learn how to roast our signature blend of coffee that we've been using for 8 years. Can you help me with that? And he says, oh yeah, sure. It's easy. This is how you do it. And it's really fun, actually. I like it a lot. I think it's kind of therapeutic because you have to watch the coffee, you have to listen to it, you have to like really pay attention and change the heat, the temperatures and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, so I learned how to roast after the hero roundtable. And so that was my next step was, okay, I've got some names of some places that I think I might want to go to. Next step, okay, I need to learn how to roast coffee. so so I learned that, and then I had to figure out if I want to go forward with flavors of coffee instead of just plain, light
Yeah.
roast, dark roast, medium. How do I do that? So I had to research that a little bit, figure out how do you flavor coffees, what's the best way to do it. So I like to do research like that. I'm kind of a nerd that way. I really like to look and see what other people are doing. How did you do that? And then
Yeah.
apply it to my own situation. So those were some other steps that I had to take. Were you know learning how to do it, and then fast forward that whole process after COVID, was loose lessening. Um, I went to let's see, so August of 2021, I went to a comedy weekend type thing from a group of people who had met on Zoom during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was just a way for us all to laugh. And the comedian that we followed on the Zoom calls, his name is Jiggy, Mark Jagarjian, but he goes by Jiggy. And every month we would all get together virtually, a group of about 200 people,
Wow.
and watch his show. And it just was a good way to kind of lighten up, during this time frame.
Yeah.
And and he brought us together from all these different places, and we all became so close that he decided, let's do a weekend. So I went to New York for the first time in August of 2021, and I went and sponsored one of the comedy showcases for this weekend. And it was on a Sunday. It was a brunch, and I catered it with my coffee and did a bunch of fun giveaways. And Joe was the main headliner of the
Oh, wow.
comedy day. So I, I felt like, okay, this is meant to be, because you know, it, the world, I'm brought back to the same place
Yeah.
with Joe, and now I've learned all the skills. So let's do it. This is the time. So August 2021 is when I pitched the idea to Joe.
And he ran with it. He liked it. Like, was it immediate, or was there a lot of negotiation for that?
There was a lot of negotiation, but it was mainly because, I like I said, I like to research, and I wanted to make sure I dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. You never know what could happen.
Yeah.
So I think I personally made it go longer than it really had to. But yeah, so we started talking shortly after that, in August, and then by March of 2022, so between August and the next March, we came up with the animal rescue that we were going to choose based on Joe's suggestion, where he got Spumoni, which is called Love Pup, is the name of the organization that we support. Um, and then we designed the bags as a collaborative project. I thought it would be a good time to work on trademarking the name Coffee Rescue and the logo. So I used that time also to do that. And the flavors, I went by the flavors that Joe likes. Asked him what his favorite flavors were, put something together, sent it out to a bunch of people so they could all sample it. Everybody said, we love it. And I said, all right, let's go. So we had all the pieces together, and then we launched on March 1st, 2022.
I just love your story. Like, I love this because it's so, the way you've set that out and the way you've explained it and the way you've put all the pieces together, it's so clear. Do you know, if anyone wanted to know, well, how do I do this thing, whatever their thing is, just by listening to you explain all the bits and all the steps makes it so clear. You know, it's oh, you're frowning because you think, oh, really? But it is really clear. Yeah. And you're also showing that, you know, there are a lot of moving parts to setting up a project. You know, it's not just a case of I'm going to make some coffee and I'm going to sell it and then give money to a dog rescue. There's quite a lot of moving parts. And if you hadn't have teamed up with Joe, you probably could have done it a lot simpler. But this is the bag that you, and I'm going to tell the truth, this is an empty bag because I've been drinking it. I brought this one from Jamie. I bought this one from Jamie when I was over there. This is a Gatto Pups rescue roast with Joe on the back. I'm trying not to get it shiny, so you might have to look at the YouTube clip for this or something. But this is, and this is beautiful too, by the way, and it's vanilla maple nut, and it's bloody amazing. But it's I just love that you've done it, and it's just, you're just such proof, do you know, that when you do get an idea, go with it. You just go with it, and if it fails, and I love the word fail because it's not like, if this hadn't worked out for you, something else might have worked out, you know. And I think sometimes we go, well, that didn't work, so therefore I'm going to abandon the entire idea, and then we end up with this sort of bitterness, you know, I wish I had have done it. Oh, and by the way too, if anyone's, you know, watching my socials, I just put this is going to go out in a couple of weeks, but so you might have to go back to, today's the day. Yesterday I put it up the 15th of November, so you might want to look at, and I put up a video of a little interview I did with Jamie on the day, and you know, we're just talking about how her coffees go to rescues. And today I'm going to put up, is part 2 of it, is about the you know, what regrets would you have had? And I actually want to cover that now in case people can't be bothered going back to my LinkedIn. But I did a second video with you, and it was asking you what you talked about mission and purpose and that sort of stuff. And what would you be thinking, or what would be happening, or what would you have missed out on had you not actually followed this idea? So you might as well give it to us again. It won't have to be word for word, but you know.
Well, it turns out that by following through with this idea, I have really gained a purpose. And it's a lot more than what I had before was fun. You know, having a food truck is fun. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. And you get to go and do all kinds of fun stuff. And, you know, so that is rewarding in its own right. But there wasn't a purpose behind it. And I've always wanted to have Coffee Rescue actually involve some kind of philanthropy of some sort and helping people. It's just in my heart as a person. That's just what I want to do. And so if I hadn't gone through with this, and I would have never I would have never met new people who have other nonprofits that I now am making blends of coffee for, because I have 3 more that I'm working on. And it's really cool to know that everything that I am working on now it has a purpose, and it makes me feel like it's so much more worthwhile. You know, it's more fulfilling than what I was doing before, which was fun, but it wasn't fulfilling in the way that this project has turned out to be.
I love that so much. And let's go back to those 3 that you just said, because at the at this year's conference, I was doing another workshop, and poor Jamie was so intent on, wanting to be at that workshop, but alas, she was selling coffee, so it's a kind of a double-edged sword. It was pretty good to be selling all that coffee. But you did come in at the end of it, or like maybe 80% into it. And we were talking about funding, and it was such a beautiful moment because I said about doing a pilot project, and I said to everybody in the group, could you do a pilot project? Like, could you do a little portion of it just to sample it and see if it works? And I said, because it's a great way to get funding if you've already proven something, and you said, you piped up right there and said, this works because I did a small portion of it, and I think it was the Michigan Women's Foundation. I think that's what you said. Yes. Gave me some funding, and I was able to move ahead with stuff. And there was a woman in the workshop who told me later that she had just written down Michigan Women's Foundation as I didn't I tell you that she came up to me. She came up to me later and she said, I can't believe it. When Jamie said, about getting money from the Michigan Women's Foundation, I had just written that down, and then she said it, and I thought, wow, this is a sign that I have to follow through that. And her cousin is wanting to build a retreat or a hostel for women facing domestic violence, so somewhere where they can actually get away. So what you said was just perfect, to give her that little extra hope.
That's amazing.
But I know it's amazing. And then when I was doing my talk, I held up your coffee, and at some point in all of this, and I can't remember that exact point, but you said, or someone said, I can't remember how it happened, but it was like, hey, wait a minute, there must be other people here who might have charities. Or maybe Matt said it on stage. I can't remember where it came from, but and suddenly it was like another light bulb moment for you. It's kind of like, oh my God, there are so many not-for-profits here and I could be doing this. Now, you've just said you're working with another 3. So, tell us about that, because this is, I don't know if I've just talked shit for the last 3 minutes, but, all of a sudden, you've just got this massive expansion happening. And it's about courage too. Like, it's about courageous action, saying, who in this place has got a not-for-profit? Oh, I know what it was. Matt said on stage, if anyone's got a not-for-profit, maybe go talk to Jamie. That was what it was. But so now tell us about the new 3. I don't know. I know they might not be, I know you're still talking about it, so it might not have happened, then they may not happen. But what happened? Tell us.
Yeah, well, actually, I went to Matt because, of course, after your workshop, every time I go to one of your workshops, I get all jazzed up and revved up. So I went over to Matt and I said, okay, this is my thought now that I'm having. I've had a couple people approach me to see whether or not I'd be interested in ever being a speaker at the Hero Roundtable. And you don't really think that your own story has a lot of help involved or meaning or whatever, and so I walked over to him and kind of talked to him about that for a minute, and then I said, and I'm also wondering if there's anybody else here that might have a nonprofit, because there's a lot of people there that do, at that conference. So it's like, okay, well, this would be a good time. And he said, well, I'm doing a question and answer period at the end, and so why don't you just type that in and send a text, and then I'll read it out loud. So that's what he did. And sure enough, I got 4 people approached me within the next couple of hours after that, to talk about different projects that they're working on or ideas that they have that they might like to collaborate on. So one of them that I'm really excited about is actually Captain Encouragement himself.
Yep.
Nicholas Domingo, Captain Encouragement. I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow. I already have his coffee blend created. Yeah. He and I have been chatting about what it means to be a hero and how he feels about being heroic in his everyday life,
Yeah.
and how he portrays that to the kids that he meets and everything, and encourages them. So we kind of thought that the espresso flavor, the strong, bold flavor of
Yep.
espresso, with, and this was his take too, was that it needed to have a little bit of sweet cream flavors and notes, because there's a sweetness involved in the in that as well. So the cup, I believe we're going to call it the Cup of Encouragement, will be the name
Oh,
of the coffee.
great. Yeah.
Cup of Encouragement. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And so the blend is an espresso and sweet cream blend, and so I'm excited for that, and I think he's going to like it as well. So there's that one, and
I
I
love
really
it.
want to do, yeah, I really want to do a hero roundtable, funding helper
Yeah.
coffee. I don't know, I don't have that one really fleshed out too much. It's just in the talking phase right now. But I would love to have one that could actually benefit future hero roundtable, just because it's a great thing, and anything that we can do to help and get and keep it going, I think is a good idea. So we're kind of hoping to talk about that a little bit more. But the other one that is a little bit moving forward is a hazelnut flavored coffee, and I'm working with. They had a booth at the event, and it's work skills.
Oh, for
Um,
people with disabilities. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
at that artisan corner where
Yeah.
they have all the art.
Yeah.
That art is amazing. There's some art there, and I used to have a small spot in a gallery a long time ago, and so I was surrounded by artists for a long part of my life, and this is stuff that just blows my mind. I love it. I love all the art that they're doing, and it's helping adults with developmental disabilities also not only produce art but sell it so that they have jobs. So I think this is a great one too. So really hoping to work with them on that, and produce a hazelnut flavored coffee. My concept that I want to go with, hopefully I can do this. Well, of course I can.
Of
Hopefully I can
course
do
you
it.
can.
Hopefully I can do it quickly, I guess is what I meant, because I want to try and get it all done right now. But what I want to do is have an umbrella kind of thing called Coffees with a Cause,
Yeah.
and have all of the different roasts and flavors and all of the charities that each one, or the nonprofit organizations, so that people can choose based on which one is it that they feel strongly about, that they would like to support,
Yeah.
or which flavor do they like the best, or which one do they want to give as a gift. So then there's options, there's several options. There'll hopefully be 5 different flavors and 5 different charities.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Nicholas Domingo, he's a great friend of ours. He's just a beautiful, beautiful Captain Encouragement. So I can see that working so well, but I can see all of them working so well. And I love that you're doing that. And it's just that initial idea of I want to do animal rescue, or I can ask Joe or whatever. We've got to not put a lid on that, like as in, oh, that's the only thing I can do, because once you start expanding, it's, you see options everywhere, don't you? You just see opportunity everywhere. I freaking love that so much. I'm thinking about a Girls with Hammers one. I'm trying to think how we can work with you. Anyway, let me keep thinking about that one, because I reckon that might be good. But you also do a pumpkin spice latte or pumpkin spice blend or something, and that goes to I think suicide prevention, and also was it a children's healing community or something?
It's called the Community Healing Centers. They deal with more than just working with children. They also work with addiction recovery services, and counseling, some of that stuff as well. But that was actually the the two together. One is called Griffin Place, and that's the suicide prevention local place. So it's local to where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I can have an actual local impact there, as well as the community healing centers. They're both local organizations. So the idea was, okay, let's do a pumpkin flavored coffee because we can use our 10-year anniversary, which we just had for the business. We can use that as kind of a big fundraiser for these two places that had just recently lost funding. Not all of their funding, but some funding was being cut. So, the idea was, all right, I partnered with a local food blogger, and he kind of was like, okay, I see what you did here with Joe with that concept. Can we do something similar and work at a local level? So I said, yeah, of course. I think that's a great idea. So we did that, and then at my 10-year anniversary party, we had a big fundraiser for those places, and so that was kind of the impetus behind that.
I love it. By the way, I think you should speak at the Hero Roundtable, but anyway, that's up to me. But I think, no, because I think that, well, when I spoke this year, it was about being a proactive heroism, and that's about like, let's do something at the front line, let's be proactive about making a better world and that sort of stuff. And I think it's, not enough people do take action, because they've got all the self-doubt and everything else. And I'm not saying it's easy, because when you do want to make a difference, there's always challenges. But I just think that if more of us took a chance, and more of us decided that I can make a difference, I can step up into, and it might not be a hero with a cape and a mask, but I just think any action that's proactive, that is trying to make a better world, is in some sense heroic. We can all have different definitions about what is heroic, but it's helping beyond yourself. Seeing something greater than you.
It's very right. It's very fulfilling just in general. I've always, my degree is actually in psychology, and I've worked with all different types of people. I've been a caseworker. I've worked with kids with autism. I did a lot of different types of things with that. And so, just kind of life turned me in a different direction. So that's how I ended up being a small business owner. But when you are sure of yourself, that that there's something inside that you just want to give to other, you want to be nice to other people, you want to be friendly, you want to listen and actually, hear what other people say, just that in general. It's not necessarily that that you're going to get information from someone or whatever, but that you might brighten their day by listening to them. Just that little bit, or just even saying hello to someone or acknowledging that they're there, you get intrinsic benefit from that. I've always paid attention to that. I'm very, I guess I can feel the way other people feel, like empathetic. So I think empathy is important, because if you feel that for other people, you can touch them in a way that you didn't realize could be done. Just small little things, brightening their day, something like that. And if you go with that in your everyday life, you get all these wins, like you win
bonuses
on small little bases all around you, So I just, it feels almost somewhat selfish, because there's an intrinsic reward every time you do it. So it's almost like I don't know, some kind of a weird addiction or something. But the more friendly you are, the more friendly and outgoing and positive you can be towards others, you get it right back. It comes back to you in different ways. You don't realize how it's going to happen until it does.
I love that so much, and I agree. And it does feel selfish sometimes because it actually feels so bloody wonderful. It's just so bloody wonderful. Oh God, you are. I love your work. I really do. You know, and I'm so glad we reconnected again. You know, well, not that we never. Well, we've always been connected with Instagram and all that sort of stuff. But I'm glad we took it a level deeper. You know, and because I've always thought about since that first workshop. I've often thought about you. You know, how's that going? I love that coffee rescue thing. I love the concept of that. Yeah, and stupidly never followed it up. But it was such a when your message come through saying, "Hey, guess what? I've done." Oh my God, you know, and that's when you're talking about just before about those rewards. You know, that your heart, your cup is full, your heart sings. You know, that's the stuff that bloody hell, I just love you. Where to from here?
From here, well, it's interesting that we find ourselves going forward with these coffees because that feels like a good path for me to go on. And at the same time, I'm kind of going in two different directions because the coffee shop that's only 1 year old that I'm actually sitting in right now is not going in the same direction. It's kind of really, really, really slowly, like a turtle, building, building, and building. And so I constantly have a tug of war in my brain as to, when do I know if this is right or if that's right? And then which one do I keep going there? Do I keep going there? When is the right time to pivot? Because I feel, especially from after the Hero Roundtable this time, I really learned from a lot of the people that were speaking that it's not bad to pivot.
Yeah.
If you find out that maybe that's not the right thing, even though you put all that time and effort literally building the place from scratch, which I did.
Yeah.
I learned how to actually put a hole in a wall and put, wood around it and all that stuff. But yeah, so if I'm trying to pay attention to that. So where I go from here is I feel like this Coffees with a Cause is really a good path. And at the same time, the coffee shop's kind of hanging out. And then I still have a coffee truck that is actively running for like the whole winter.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of things bouncing around in my head right now. So I think the path is going in 3 parallel lines right now. And then we'll see which line goes up ahead of the other line. And we'll see which one wins, I guess.
Oh, I love it. Well, I hope Coffees with a Cause, sticks it out because, and I think you can run that even on the side, like even if you keep the food truck or keep the shop or keep both, like I think that can still. Right. As long as you still love your coffee, and you're still loving what you're doing.
They all can exist at the same time. I just trying to pay attention to which one is singing louder than the other, like which one should I pay a little bit more attention to. But definitely Coffees with a Cause needs to be in the front because it's what I feel inside that is telling me to do that.
Yeah, and it's giving you all that meaning and purpose too, and it's a reason to get up. And I'm not saying coffee isn't a reason to get up because that's a good reason to get up, but it's it's you bounce out of bed a lot easier when you know you're doing good, when you know you're impacting people, and I love it. Well, I'm going to be keenly watching. Now, I want people to follow you and go and if you're in America, go buy it, order it. Like it's a little bit tougher for us here in Australia, but in Australia, we can still follow your journey on Instagram and we can, I don't know, do whatever. But I really want people to support you. So where can people find you to go and, sticky beak a little bit more at what you're doing?
Well, we have all of our social media, of course. So Instagram is coffee_rescue and then the number 1. And then on Facebook, it's just Coffee Rescue.
Yep.
So there's that one. And I would say I update them all equally. So, I try to keep interesting, fun, and quirky content on there as much as possible, because that's just how I am. I just recently got a billboard right down the street from my coffee shop, and it has basically it's got a light bar off of the front of an ambulance. So it's just a big light bar on there, and it says pull over on the right, and then underneath and it's got my logo in the middle, and underneath it says all the different things that we sell, and it's right before you come to the shop. So it's basically telling you, okay, now it's time to pull over because here's the coffee shop coming up on your right. So just, funny stuff. Like I went over there the first day that it came up and walked down into the woods into like a like a little gully and did a Facebook Live video from there. So, you never know where you're going to see interesting content from me. But so yeah, that's the Facebook and the Instagram. Twitter, I'm not on it quite as much, but I would say really the website is a good spot to go because you can see all the different products, and I'm adding more products every day because I'm still creating some new ones. So that is www.coffeerescue.net. And then if you want to go straight to the shopping section, just /shop, you can see a little bit of information on there about Joe Gatto and his involvement with Love Pup and how he got his dog Spumoni there, and so a lot of that content is on the website, but it's always being updated as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And speaking of Joe and Spumoni, his little pup, he's when I first came to Michigan 3 years ago, he's in the hotel and he's got his dog, and I'm like, he's got a dog in a hotel, and you. Then I saw another woman and she's walking in the hotel with a dog and, taking them to their rooms. And I'm like, where's your dog sleep? And in my bed, in my room. And it was a really new thing to me because in Australia, we don't have, we don't have the dogs in hotels, and I wish we would. Like, I think that's normal. And plus, in America, you've got your dogs on airplanes, and at the airports, there's a women's and a men's, and there's a pet relief center. It's like that's set. Like, there's 3 sets of toilets, and I mean, it just. We don't have that. Dogs are walking around the airport. I freaking love that. And so Spumoni was kind of like my first introduction to America being so open to companion dogs, and having all these dogs. And I love it. Australia's got a long way to go to catch up. We need to.
Yeah, at my drive-through window, I have a whole shelf of stuff just for dogs that come through the drive-through. I have frisbees, tennis balls, poop bags, handkerchiefs, anything and then I do free pup cups, which is like a cup of whipped cream. So because we get people that come through with their dogs, because I'm next to an animal hospital a couple doors down, and we just have a lot of people in the area, a lot of dog parks and things like that. So I encourage people to come through, and I cater to the dogs. I give the dog their pup cup before I give the human their drink.
I love that. Oh, see, so, wake up. We've got a long way to go. We need to get better with our pups. Bloody hell. I love that so much. So all we do is we have, and I shouldn't be so critical because there might be better places that I'm aware of, but we just have our, the water bowl out at the coffee shops and stuff like that. But I want Australia to get like America with dogs, because that we bloody should be looking after them a lot more. But anyway, Jake, I have loved this conversation. I freaking love what you do. I love the whole concept of Coffee Rescue. I always have since the minute I saw it, and I feel so blessed, to have spent more time with you this year and really gotten to know you and what you're about. And I feel so honored that I've played a part in that. I feel so, it's only a small part. It was only the little trigger at the start. You've done all the hard work, but I feel so honored that, that I've been able to spark something for you. I really do.
Well, yeah, but now you're one of my best cheerleaders as well. So you've caught right up. You're right back into the fold.
Absolutely, I'm a cheerleader because, and this is what should happen when people are doing good stuff. We should be cheering and clapping. And some say I'm the world's biggest cheerleader, so I'm going to take that title and run with it because I really quite like it. But
That's a good thing.
I know. I just think you're bloody amazing. So I'm going to be keeping on top of it and really, really taking notice. I'm going to put all those links in the show notes so people can start following you and, really joining in on and celebrating your successes with you, because I think that's so important. But I've loved this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad we reconnected at the Hero Roundtable too. I was the whole time, and then when you had to go and I had to go back home and everything, I was just like, oh no, she's going to Australia. No, that's how it works. That's how it works. But I felt that way about everyone. I felt a connection with so many people there. It was great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been a really interesting journey, and it's only just started we just had it. So, it's just, there's a lot of exciting things that are going to happen. I can feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I intend to be back next October, so we'll do another big catch up, and you're going ahead in leaps and bounds, and I just admire so deeply the work you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll send you some pom poms. You can cheer them in the background, like be a cheerleader.
I absolutely love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and chat with
Thanks
you again soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.